And welcome to the Aaron Katzman Show. I'm your host, Aaron Katzman. We speak to you about your life, your money, and your investments. And as always, we're coming to you from the spiritual and soon to be financial capital of the world, Jerusalem, Israel. If you like this content, please hit the like button below if you've not yet done so. Please subscribe to both the YouTube channel and to the podcast. And if you think that there may be somebody who will find this interesting, da 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 da, please hit the share button below as well. So we're entering summer. Summer means one thing. Aliyah, woo, nefesh benefesh, woo. Thousands of olim, hundreds of olim, however you count it, I don't know. Coming to Israel, they're coming throughout the year, but the summer is sort of like the pinnacle of immigration to Israel. For those uninitiated, Aliyah is immigrating to the Holy Land. I'd like to give a few tips from questions that I get all the time. In fact, I was helping counsel somebody who's coming on Aliyah in August, and they asked me, well, what should we do with our money? So that's a great question. So I would define money in different ways, right? There's like cash money sitting around in a bank account. And then there's investments, money that might be in a taxable, individual account, a joint account, IRAs, 401ks, that kind of money. So the first thing I would say, you're moving to a new country. You certainly need to have money in the new country because that's where you're living. And your life now is going to be moving from US dollars into Israeli shekel. So as such, if you've got money in cash lying around, not invested, but money in cash, it certainly does behoove you to bring some of that money over into Israel so that you can just, you can have your emergency fund, you can, be not have to worry when you hit the ground here, not start panicking. Oh my God, I've got no money in the bank. You've got money in the bank. You'll open up an Israeli bank account with one of the 5 banks that exist here or whatever, and you're off and running. You deposit money, you're off and running. You don't have to, you don't have to worry about, wow, where am I going to get all my money from? So that's like cash money. When it comes to investment money, that's a whole other ballgame. I'll explain why. First of all, for the uninitiated, it's very, very tricky if you're an American citizen to invest outside of the United States. They're what are called PFICs. I'm not going to get into the minutia of what they are, but what they are is if you invest in one of them, you are looking at prohibitively high, and I mean prohibitively high taxation for owning them. Now, those can be foreign mutual funds, Israeli mutual funds for the most part, exchange traded funds in Israel. Basically, and again, you have to speak to a professional. I speak to your accountant, speak to an advisor, whatever. But this is a quick little podcast. But basically, you are able to invest in individual securities, individual stocks, individual bonds, which trade locally, let's say here in Tel Aviv. But anything that's in a mutual fund for the most part or exchange traded funds, most of the accountants are going to tell you those are PFICs. And those, it's legal, don't get me wrong. You're not going to prison by investing in them, but you're looking at paying very, very high taxation to the IRS in the United States. I'm not a tax professional, okay? I don't even play one on TV, but it behooves you to speak to an accountant who knows both Israeli and American law and tax code so that you get the best advice, but it's something just to think about. So what does that mean? That means if you've got a lot of money, this applies to people who are not necessarily even Olim, but have been in Israel for a long time and who have American citizenship. They ask me, well, I want to bring my money to Israel. Well, the question is, then what are you going to do with it? Okay, you can buy real estate, or you can put it into a bank deposit, right? Or you can turn it over if you've got enough to one of the local portfolio management companies, and they can, if you have enough money, sort of manage the money in a way which is sort of, we'll just call PFIC compliant, so that you're not stuck with a portfolio of all these PFICs. But if you're going to try and do it yourself, it's difficult, which means that we should probably, in terms of investments, leave the lion's share of our money in the United States. Now, there are multiple reasons for that. One could be, in order to bring it here, you may have to liquidate those investments, which could trigger capital gains taxes in the US. The other thing, which a lot of people, shockingly, to me it's shocking because I thought it was like ABCs, but don't know, is a lot of people come and make Aliyah and they've got IRAs, individual retirement accounts, or 401ks. And then they say to me, oh, you know what? We'll just bring that money to Israel. And the problem with that is that money, when you take money from an IRA, it's called a distribution, and the distribution is taxed as income. So I think I spoke about this once, met with a lady, and she was planning on coming to Israel, and she had nearly $2 million in IRAs in the States. And she was planning on using those IRAs to fund the acquisition or the purchase of an apartment, which was going to run her around one and a quarter to $1.5 million. And she figured, oh, I've got, between five and $750,000 left plus Social Security. I'm good to go, right? I'll be fine. And I said, well, there's one problem. I said, are you aware if you were to bring, if you were to take a $2 million distribution or $1.2 million distribution, whatever it is, from your IRA, you're looking at like, I don't know, I'm not an accountant, but like 35 to 40% tax on that money. And she's like, what are you talking about? I said, well, why don't you look it up? It's income. Okay. And that's like, ooh, well, there went that plan, right? There went that. Literally, her whole plan about buying an apartment sort of blew up on her. So it behooves you to understand and to speak to a professional who sort of specializes. There are those who say cross border, but who have clients in both domiciles who are licensed in both domiciled. It behooves you to speak to them so that you get all the information that you need financially because it's complicated. And if you don't do things right, it's going to cost you tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I can tell you that it happens. I see it. I see people, I sometimes I'm called in to try and clean up the mistakes that people make. And you shake your head. It's like all you have to do is make one phone call and speak to an accountant or a financial advisor or what have you, and you would have solved the problem or gotten advice on the problem instead of just, some people just follow what they, maybe a Facebook group or they just ask a few friends and they just don't know. They don't know the answers. They think they know, but each person has their own specific situation. And like I say, it behooves you to speak with professionals, even if it costs you a little bit of money. A little bit of money now will save you a boatload of money down the road. Just trust me, because I see it. I see it all the time. Okay. So first of all, congrats on your upcoming Aliyah. Number two, speak to, financial Aliyah, we'll call it, is tricky. So speak to professionals, speak to people who know what they're talking about and sort of have feet in both worlds. And that way you can get, sound professional advice and avoid making very, very, very costly mistakes. Because again, this is the financial Aliyah part of your Aliyah process. And if you don't do it right, it's going to be awfully expensive. Okay. Thanks so much for tuning in. You've been watching the Aaron Katzman Show. We speak about your life, money, and your investments. If you like this content, please hit the like button below. And if you've not yet done so, please subscribe to both the YouTube channel and to the podcast. And if you've got somebody who's thinking of making Aliyah or who is making Aliyah, go ahead and share this with them as well. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll speak to you soon.